My guest is Carla Harris. She is the vice chairman of Morgan Stanley's wealth management. She joined the bank in 1987. She rose through the ranks. She is one of the most powerful people on Wall Street. 2 years ago, she started investing in the next crop of billion-dollar ideas. So she and her team, they're looking for the next Facebook, the next Google, the next Netflix, and she's looking in a place where most of Silicon Valley is not. She's backing female and multicultural entrepreneurs. We started our conversation about her first few steps on Wall Street.
I was drawn to Morgan Stanley, frankly, after my sophomore year in college. I was in a program called the Sponsors for Educational Opportunity, and the program was created to expose talented kids of color to Wall Street and Wall Street to talented kids of color in hopes that they would build a pipeline into the newly created analyst programs. Every person that I met was a little different than the last person that I met. And that said to me, there's a lot of different equations that equal success in this environment. Surely there might be one for me.
So if you had to describe your job to, say, a 7-year-old, so really break it down into Lego parts, what would you say?
I'd say my job is to try to present the company, Morgan Stanley, in the best way to get more individual and institutional clients to do business with Morgan Stanley. So that might mean that I'm giving a keynote address in front of 1,000 people. That might mean I'm sitting down with someone who owns a business that wants to figure out a way to help it grow, either through the public markets or even through a private sale. Or that might mean actually spending time with our employees internally, training them on relationship building or how to use technology more effectively. So anything that's going to create more customers for Morgan Stanley, that's what I do.
I am imagining that you were the only woman in the room in numerous instances, perhaps the only African American in the room in numerous instances. What is the advice that you would pass along to people who still, even 30 years later, may find themselves in your shoes?
Remember that whenever you are the only person in the room that looks like you have an advantage. Because everybody.
Some people feel insecure and feel like it's a disadvantage.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying my advice is to remember that when you're the only one in the room, you have an advantage. Because everyone else looks like each other and they're vying for the attention. You're the one that looks different. Everybody's going to look at you. And everybody's going to be listening. And all you have to do is to deliver your excellence right into that opening.
What do you see that has changed, either from staffing or otherwise, in financial, let's say, the number one change in the past 3 decades in financial services? Despite
the fact, Deidre, that we still don't have enough women and enough people of color in positions of leadership and authority, there are more than there were in 1987. In 1987, I could name every senior woman at every firm on the street, and mind you, there were more firms that existed back then.
Right.
I could name every person of color that was in a senior position. I can't do that today, which means there are more, right? And so, but I still think we have a long way to go, but that's the number one thing that I'll tell you that has changed.